So if you control the video games business or large chunks of it, you are going to have some pretty serious soft power, if you like. Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince, is himself a huge fan of gaming.
He's done a phenomenal job.
Remember how some dudes decided it was time to play Lex Luthor on a public company Electronic Arts, sending us all on a downward-facing spiral, leaving us baffled and forcing us to consider how much our ethics influence our consumer behavior, because who wants to think that Sims is owned by legit thugs who spend all of their free time ordering the of journalists, persecuting the LGBTQIA community, or calling Donald Trump a bibi? I'm sure we all remember, yes? Well, I've got some bubbling news about this show that you might want to hear. And let me give a shout out to our wonderful drama friend, C's Echo, who brought this to my attention. You're the best. Headline: Saudi Arabia's prince has big plans, but his giant fund is low on cash. Reported by the New York Times, quote, that appearance of wealth is core to Saudi Arabia's power and image in the United States and at home, where the Saudi government has vowed no less than an economic transformation for its young populace. But a different reality is being whispered about in the powder corridors of Riyadh and Wall Street. The kingdom's vaunted public investment fund is running low on cash for new investments. While PIF says it holds nearly $1 trillion in assets, a huge portion of its portfolio is tied in hard-to-sell assets for which no public valuations are available. Its representatives have begun telling international investors that it is all but unable to allocate any more money for the foreseeable future. 6 people with knowledge of this discussion said. The largest investment by PIF this autumn was a bid for a controlling stake in the world's largest video game maker, Electronic Arts. PIF's representatives say it's a long-term investment that will eventually double in value. People close to the fund point to another motivating factor. Prince Mohammed is an avid gamer. Yes, of course, after all, Prince Mohammed is a millennial just like us. We can only relate to his genuine excitement now that he owns all of those iconic video games titles. And the stakes in Nintendo? Relatable. The investment in Ubisoft? Absolutely makes sense. Anyway, the New York Times article elaborates further on additional signs of the PIF running low on cash. For example, the internal slicing and firing of the workforce, or how some representatives of the fund told asset managers of new conditions for future investments. The only way it would give them more is in exchange for help bailing out the fund's older investments. Headline: the Saudi Arabia fund behind the widely leveraged EA buyout is dealing with financial distress, claims report published by Rock Paper Shotgun. Quote, the New York Times report that the PIF pivotal investments are now worth around $1 trillion, of which a fair chunk have no public valuation and as such would be difficult to sell off. The PIF disagree with this assessment, naturally. PIF spokesperson Marwan Bakrali has told the newspaper that they still have $60 billion in cash and similar financial instruments. I dislike and fear the PIF's control of studios like BioWare, mostly because it's operated by a regime that has journalists, gay people, and migrant workers dispossessed or murdered. But it also doesn't seem great that an increasing share of video game developers are being consolidated under the banner of a group that appears to be having financial difficulties. I swear this putrid swamp that is the EA buyout conversation gets grosser every time you take a swim in it. And it's true that the possible strategy change within the Saudi Wealth Investment Fund might imply the need for more conservative habits from their side. You know, sometimes things are tight and you have to just stop window shopping for gigantic corporations and projects that result in failures. Like these guys poured 8.8 trillions, I know, what the fuck are these numbers, into a project called Neom, a vast would-be utopian region on the nation's northern tip that was to feature robot workers, a ski resort, and beaches of crushed marble, but has instead confronted mountains of delays. And the construction of this thing necessitated the eviction of thousands of local tribespeople, some of them on pain of execution. I know, good deeds only in the portfolio of this wonderful regime-owned wealth fund. Such good guys. And honestly, if their objective now is to stop pouring cash into shit that won't work, I mean, who's gonna tell them about electronic arts? But maybe they have a plan about that. Maybe they will strip it down, sell it for parts, and keep only the IPs that truly matter to the prince.
Is said to be a big fan of FC, which used to be called FIFA, which is one of the big franchises owned by Electronic Arts.
And that would be probably the best case scenario at this point when it comes to The Sims, because why would they even want to keep The Sims? Because people will get so hyped about The Sims 4 Remastered? Come on. But also, I am perfectly aware that this is just a little silly fantasy. It's even more clear after reading these articles that the future of EA and the future of The Sims is not gonna be plumb bob green. They probably hope it will be dollar bill green. And I'm not a psychic, but I kind of have this little feeling, call it, female intuition, visions of doom. I have this feeling that the best strategy they will find to make that EA investment work will be to up their monetization schemes even more, invest less in the company's operations, which means layoffs, which means worse working conditions, which means less budget for projects and initiatives, and ask the consumers for more. More cosmetics behind paywalls, more live service games, and of course, less quality in the final product. That's the standard behavior anyways, isn't it? Create a bottom tier for customers who are not interesting to you as a company, as they can't really pay for the top tier. So give them the minimum worst thing that you can give them, and then, they will need to pay more to upgrade. In the context of the Sims franchise, I absolutely see how they might create this Project Renee platform, which will be free to play, and where you can still play, silly little cozy games with this honestly disrespectful graphics, and then you can pay and have access to The Sims 4 Remastered, for example, and it's gonna be for free for the first month, and then you'll need to upgrade, and then they'll tell you it's convenient to pay only $4.99 for one hairstyle and one pair of shoes for your Sims, because if you don't have the monthly Sims subscription or something, then you would pay, $10.99 instead of $4.99. EA was bad with this kind of predatory pricing and microtransactions, but after getting privatized, loaded with an enormous debt, moving hand in hand with the AI bubble that might burst sooner or later, and owned by entities that truly don't give a fuck about anything that isn't money. What do you think the future will look like? So now it's more important than ever for you not to engage with anything that is coming out of the EA factory. Let's not be active players in this sticky show. This doesn't mean that you have to stop playing with the product that you already own. It doesn't mean that you have to remove The Sims from your life completely. It's just about standing your ground and use the only tool that we have as consumers to say, I don't endorse this is bad. And to all those people that often make the point of saying, oh, but the Sims team is not EA, they have no choice on this either, we should rally around the Sims 4 team, not flood their comment sections, blah blah blah. I'm like, excuse me, but when did I hire all of these people, making them my responsibility? They are employees of EA. How are we responsibilizing the final customers about the well-being of the people who work at EA? I've stated multiple times that I feel for them and I imagine that things are tough over there, but I cannot, as a customer, continue supporting any of this just because I don't want to hurt the social media manager's feelings. And also, if I worked at The Sims right now or EA and I kept seeing the community flooding any channel with strong opinions about the buyout and the current state of The Sims 4, I would be like, yes, girlies, slay the boots house down. I would never think, ever, I would never ever think, oh, dang, these people are trash talking the corporation I work for on social media. I hope my job is not jeopardized, because the existence and conditions of your job, your workplace, they're not the customer's responsibility. Let's maybe put away the responsibility radar and look at the facts. The Sims 4 is the worst game of the series, and EA was hoping they could keep milking it forever. So we should have been boycotting it since they came up with a stuff pack that required a DLC to work. We should have stopped when they had the audacity to release The Sims 4 without swimming pool or toddlers. But okay, fast forward, it's 2025. EA gets sold, overevaluated. The names who take part in the signing of this deal are the most nightmarish, blunt rotation that I could ever come up with. And also, they should be in jail. People demand explanations and reassurance, and they get silence from all the friends at The Sims 4. But then big content creators leave the EA's creator network, and then, oh, suddenly The Sims 4 has something to say. They will never change who they are, and they will also give you free stuff, and also they are gonna solve all the bugs that you've been complaining about for years, and they love you. And dag. It's almost surreal how bad this entire thing is, but there is one thing that we can all keep doing. Apart from laughing at the Saudi prince's poor skills at Apex Legends. You know, he prefers to execute people in real life. The controller is too tame, I guess. But apart from that, let's start talking about this. Let's not engage financially with any new packs, products, bundles, and sales. Come on, bestie, let's boycott EA.